All right. Well, welcome back, everyone. My name is Zach with Sawyer, and this is Sawyer Live once again. And today we are fortunate to have Kinsley and Molly back from the Montana Guide Relief Fund and organization as it's growing throughout this period. And what we're primarily going to do is really just kind of dive into and get a kind of an update of how things are going and what other resources they have found out. And by all means, this is live. So if you have questions for Molly or Kinsley, definitely fire them off there. We do have Derek monitoring this, and if there is actually something we don't get to, we'll definitely hear a little voice in our ear and make sure we address that. So I'm going to let you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves and just kind of give folks what organization you're with, and then we can kind of dive into questions. Molly, if you want to go first.
Sure. My name is Molly Simpkins. I live in Bozeman. I work for Sweetwater Fly Shop in Livingston, doing various jobs and tasks, events and instruction and classes and whatnot. And during the summer, run the outfitting, which, is kind of non-existent right now. But when the whole pandemic started, my boss came to me and said, I would like to start a fund to support guides during this time. Thankfully, the CARES Act passed and they were able to receive unemployment benefits that they wouldn't have otherwise. So we pivoted to what we have now, the Guide Relief Program. It's a place where guides can come and get help navigating the red tape of unemployment, and there has been quite a bit, as you can imagine, and any other services they might need. We have a pretty robust mental health portion on the site for any Montanan. It doesn't have to just be a guide. There's various things, whether it's online or actually physically going to see someone. So, we're continuing to update it with new information that comes along daily or weekly or what have you.
And I'm Kinsley Scott. I am an independently contracted guide out of Missoula, Montana, as well as a steelhead guide, lodge operator in Washington State. And kind of where I fit into the whole Montana Guide Relief Program is from the guide's perspective. I went through all of this, and before we knew that we were going to have the PUA, the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, that's when Molly, it was almost serendipitous, we kind of connected up together and started the process of trying to build the fund. And then, like Molly said, in development, we kind of shifted gears to provide more of a resource-based center for guides to come. And really, we're looking to assist more so guides, like career guides. Myself, I'm not an outfitter in the state of Montana. And, that's kind of a role or a niche that, definitely can be overlooked at times with resources. So that's kind of what we are trying to assist and to fill. And it's been quite the learning process.
Yeah. And when we did this, when we did our first broadcast about this, one of the things that we stressed is that, yes, you guys are taking this on in the state of Montana, but part of our hope is that other states will glean some ideas, because, we deal with a lot of folks on the whitewater side of things. And, as things open back up, everybody has these new guidelines that they're implementing, and it's kind of like, it's the ongoing joke of where you talk to our dealers, and it's kind of like, well, I have half the staff, I work twice as hard, but at least I'm bringing in half my revenue. And it's kind of like, yep, there you go, just work, and you're going to get something for it. Yeah. But obviously, those folks that are actually have the doors open, and the retail customer that does come out, everybody's welcome them in, and starting to see those changes in a lot of our states here in the West. But so let's kind of just go into some of the basics of what the program is, and then let's discuss some of the developments that have come about, and then we can also go in a little bit and just kind of what's on the horizon for Montana and outfitting in general. You know, in this new normal that we are all now in.
Where's my crystal ball? I'm just kidding.
I have a magic 8 ball. Would that work?
Yeah, there you
shake
go.
Shake it really hard, really hard.
Dice will work.
Well, you know, like I said, I mean, the program itself is kind of a one-stop shop for somebody, an independent contractor of any kind that kind of needs help through it all. With the unemployment, the mental health, we have information if you might need some rent relief, or you know, some you have issues paying your electric bill, and we can kind of go through each one of these different pieces and discuss what each of them are. I lost my notes there. As a matter of fact, this morning and earlier today, I had 2 guides contact me, who one of them filed in March and the other one a little more recently, who have not gotten their benefits yet. So they're stuck somewhere in the system, and we help and point them in the right direction. So the first thing I would tell the person is, did you file? And if you haven't filed, and there probably is still a few independent contractors who don't realize they could actually file for unemployment. And they can do that on a very specific website. And it's the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, or PUA. So you can see right there on the website, it says file. So that's where you're going to go to file as an independent contractor. And there's a list of items on the website that you will need in order to file. So you can go there, you register, and you file. Now, if you filed already and you're hung up somewhere and you're getting denied, we learned of another resource today in our state, and it's called the Montana Citizens Advocate. And that is exactly what they do for you. They will advocate for you. So one of the gentlemen I spoke to today was told by the PUA site that he needs to talk to the conventional unemployment web people, and then vice versa. So he literally is in unemployment limbo. So I suggest that he contact the Montana Citizens Advocate, and they, on his behalf, will contact unemployment and try to shake it loose. So that's a really cool new resource for, frankly, anybody in the state who is having an issue with any government function and they need broken loose. So
and another avenue as well is you can contact the unemployment of Montana, which we have that number underneath, I believe, the filing. It's at 444-2545. Oh, we have the 33. So the direct PUA number. We've noticed too, a lot of guides that applied before the PUA was enacted. It was kind of the traditional, so to speak, W-2 unemployment. So what's happening is if you filed before the system was up and running, that's kind of where the disconnect is filing all of those into the system as a cohesive unit. So too, you can try calling as well the unemployment center, and we've had much less of a wait getting to someone, a representative, to help you. And not only that, we've had great success here in our household figuring out what's where, and the claims representatives have been tremendously helpful. So that is also another option if you know. And
there were some guides that basically heard that independent contractors could get unemployment insurance. So they went in and they tried to apply through the traditional sense. And then they're like, oh, I already tried to apply. It keeps kicking me out. It's like not realizing that, no, you have to go into a different program that's still there, but you just have to get to it a different way.
Yep. And having the patience, they're trying to they're just so inundated, right? So they're trying to connect all of these on the backside. So yes, having patience, and there's definitely options for you. But yes, the Montana Citizens organization is awesome. And that's something that was brought to us by Tester's team today. So thank you to them.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
And okay, so let's talk a little bit. Go ahead, Molly.
I'm sorry. No, I was just going to go down the list. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, fire away.
Oh, okay. So some of the other items that folks may need assistance with is electric. Again, with a lot of these guys with their unemployment kind of held up, obviously the bills are stacking up. So Northwestern Energy, you may find some relief if you can't pay your bill right now. They will work with you. I can't say they will reduce your bill or even waive it, but they can work on payment plans and help you through that process. And there's the website, northwesternenergy.com. And you will simply go to our COVID-19 response. And then you will find in there, there's a little, I can't even remember what's on there, but you'll be able to go in and see if you can qualify to receive assistance or forgiveness. So that's a nice little thing from Northwestern. The FCC has a new program called the Keep Americans Connected initiative. Their goal is to make sure that folks don't lose their telephone or their broadband or however they connect to the internet. And obviously, everything is online these days. So everyone needs to keep their connectivity regardless of what it is. There are 700 companies, digital companies, cellular companies, television corporations that are part of this initiative, Be Connected. So you can go there, and that is the FCC website. All of this stuff is on the website, and you can go in to learn if you need assistance with this or have any questions. There's that.
And you can find those
as long as they have good internet, they can get onto your site too.
Yes, and you can find those under the updates or also the resources tab. Those are two avenues of getting to what you need.
There you go.
Right.
And then, a lot of folks are having, struggling with perhaps housing or, paying rent or issues with their mortgages. Sorry, I skipped down. Sorry, Shishka. So Montana has rent relief. If you are having issues, just even with a security deposit or your mortgage payment or insurance, hazard insurance, the housing department here, there it is, housing relief. The state can help you with that. So there's a lot of different resources for those who might need a little help through this time in the state of Montana.
Right.
And finally, if you are struggling with perhaps needing some food or shelter or any kind of other services, the United Way can help people throughout the state. And each region or county has various offices in which you can contact them, regardless of what it is. So if you feel as though you need a little assistance that way, reach out to your local United Way office. And so, I'm looking to see what that is. That's cool. They could actually help you with some relief. So there's actually a lot of really good services being offered and relief being offered to those who need it.
Yeah, it just takes that patience and persistence to stay on top of it.
Well, and that's it. I mean, it does become frustrating. I was on a unemployment call with the state today, and they actually talked about the phones are just inundated, both the traditional site and the PUA site. And that is because speed dial. And they said, actually, people speed dialing in is actually causing the system to go slower. So what they do suggest is don't just keep hitting speed dial. Try every 20 or 30 minutes. And that should be a little bit easier instead of everyone kind of inundating system at one time, because it's just crashing it.
Right. It's trained human nature though. Because it's like all these guides that have had to, hit the cancellation hotline trying to pick up a permit somewhere, they're just like, as soon as it fails, just hit it again on your phone. It just keeps going over and over and over again.
Instant response. Yeah.
So that's kind of an
We've got
overview
to
of
change the
everything that's kind of
behavior.
available now to anyone who might not need it, who might need it, not just guides or independent contractors, but frankly, anyone in Montana who might need a little help.
Yeah, and that's kind of that is really blossoming in most all states. You know, I mean, really, I mean, if you see something coming up for you in this crisis, you know, there are a lot of state resources all the way around,
Right.
and most folks are looking to their states to really, you know, find those resources. And then a lot of it trickles down to the local level, like, you know, the Access Jackson County provides a lot of those services that United Way that you were listing off, but they primarily are just in Southern Oregon. And then, you know, you go the broader scope if you're going to go into, you know, state of Oregon. But, and then I know we talked a little bit about this in Montana. You know, part of it is that, you know, trying to get relief, trying to get guides to get through this so that they can actually have some season. And I know that in Oregon, there are actually some initiatives where the state tourism is actually working on programs, basically trying to promote tourism. And a lot of the outfitters have, you know, worked with the governor's office to assess and make, you know, all these new guidelines that they need, the COVID guidelines. And now it's a matter of, you know, like we were just talking before we got on here, it's like people are leery of travel, right? So, you know, it's like the states have to kind of do their bit to get people to come travel, and it's more of that, you know, that local neighbor, that staycation traveler, maybe they're a neighboring state or a couple states, you know, is maybe more of where that person's going to come from rather than flying from the East Coast to Montana or Oregon. You know,
Well,
so
a lot of our traffic is vehicle traffic. I have literally seen cars from Texas and Utah and California and Washington, and you know they're starting to get a little further away. You know, so and as I stated during before we talked, you know, I went to a local distillery to support them and have a cocktail with a friend. And the owner said that we were the only locals in there, that everyone was from somewhere else. So,
right.
you know, regardless of a 14-day quarantine, people are coming in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
We've been
Yep.
seeing that here in Missoula too. And yeah, I mean, new cases are still, you know, still presenting themselves, but more so just in one county, 45 minutes south of here. And that was a cluster. It was a specific, you know, case. But yeah, it's definitely, we see an influx of traffic here in Missoula as well, from all over.
And Montana, when Montana went into phase 1, they went statewide, right? Because it was the entire state. Because in Oregon, we've gone county by county, and so we do have the big populace up in the Portland, Salem area. They are not in phase 1. Granted, they're just a 4-hour drive away on I-5, but you know, that's where the dense population of the state is, and they're under different restrictions than the rest of the state. And you know, and then same thing where we've got California. I think Siskiyou County, which borders us on the south, they're in phase 2, fully implemented. And then you've got further south you go, you get into different counties are in different parts of the reopen. So,
Right.
you know, I mean, I think there's a staggered approach that's happening. And then there's kind of like, you know, Montana has been kind of ahead of that. And, you know, but they didn't have a lot of cases. You know, you have these isolated spots, which, you know, that's kind of easier to isolate. But yeah, I think this whole unknown for that recreational person, you know, from the retail end of things to someone who is retailly buying that experience, you know, you have to train and earn the trust of that customer, you know. And so like a lot of these outfitters are having to put these things in place, and then, you know, be like, hey, you know, come give it a try. This is what we're doing. And, you know, we've got these elaborate plans, and here's the experience. And then
We're
there's more
leaving
and
it up to
more,
the client at this point. If he didn't want to come, so he's rescheduling for next year, and we just give him his deposit back. You
right.
have to be liberal with the deposit structure right now, and making sure you're treating your clients well, and still keeping yourself and your employees and the other people in the state safe. So you just have to be
Right.
thoughtful about it.
Yeah. And because a lot of like probably both your operations where you do see the clients is that there are a lot of them have that historic repeat customer. And so, they're like, if they don't feel comfortable with you, who they've already developed a rapport with, then it's not like they're really going to go across the street and just try somebody new because they don't feel comfortable. They're just not going to go, and that's a greater problem as well, right? Because it's kind of like nobody really knows, how many people are going to come visit Montana, come visit Oregon, and feel comfortable doing those vacation type events. But, being outside is much better for them than being inside.
That's a true statement. Well, we hope, like I said, I hope people are, outfitters are somewhat thoughtful. I mean, if we're not going to do trips through June and our client wants to come to town and have a trip, we will suggest someone to them or help them find an outfitter that will take them. We're not going to say, we're not going to take you. And, we want them to come and their vacation. But if we can't help them with that, we most definitely will send them to someone down the road.
So is there a bit, I know around most all these little guide communities, we're kind of a general area where you see the same competitor, friendly competitor, every day. Is this brought on a little deeper communication within that network, or has it been kind of like the people that you could always communicate with well, they're still there and they're kind of sharing with you what they're doing and what they're going through, and the other people that are kind of that lone ranger that they never show up to any meeting of all of the outfits, they're still kind of not showing up?
And nothing's changed from our end. Same communication we've had.
Yeah, I would speak to, I think Missoula, a lot of our clientele is based, tourism based on the East Coast. We see a huge number of clients coming from, specifically in Missoula, off the top of my head, Texas, the Northeast, so New Jersey, all the way down to Massachusetts, Connecticut. So that's definitely presenting a very challenging layer to all of this. We don't necessarily have a lot of folks coming from close, say, Washington or even Idaho. So that's one thing that's challenging. But I would say, speaking to the guides of Missoula and outfitters as well, it seems that the guides that I've talked to, we're all pretty cautious. As much as we need to work, as much as we're dying to work, I'm ready to go back. But I think that we're definitely playing our cards close to our chests and just seeing what happens after this June 1 14-day quarantine in state lifts. So we're going to see a huge influx of tourism, as we already have. But I think I would say the majority of guides that I have spoken to are playing it safer than not.
Right. And do you guys, do you have fairly decent communication with the governor's office on, because they're going to promote things how they figure is best for the whole state. And, granted, they understand that tourism and guiding is big for their state, but at the same time, that's just one of the things they're juggling in any 15 minutes, but I guess your state's obviously going to make this open up on June 1st. So then it's going to be like, hey, come to Montana, we'll take you.
Open
right. And everybody's going to be knowing that, but everybody kind of has to be, you have to do what feels comfortable for you. And I think, what you're saying is the guides and outfitters are kind of saying that same thing. And we see it around here, just around different businesses. You'll go into some businesses where you can see they've definitely implemented some procedures. They're very cautious. They've got sanitation stations everywhere. You know, all their staff are wearing masks. And then you walk into some other place and it's kind of like, what, something going on? Is there something different? You know? And so
It's
like,
a very,
I think that's,
it's
yeah,
a very personal decision for shops and outfitters to do what they feel is best. We've
right.
had
Absolutely.
shops that, you know, as soon as they could open, they've opened, they brought their staff back. Some are making, you know, there's specific guidelines. I'll have no more than 3 or 4 people in my shop. You don't have a mask, you can't place an order and we'll bring it outside and you pay with a credit card. We've remained mostly closed. Dan has set out a little outdoor fly shop with, you know, some flies and some things you might need if instead of coming into the shop, he'll go in and get something for you. When June 1st starts, many outfitters and shops are already saying, come, we will guide you. Dan tends to be a little more conservative, so we will not guide through June, but start on
Right.
July 1st. So, you know, it's very personal. And however the owner of a shop or outfitting deems is best for their company.
And down to
Right.
individual guides as well.
Absolutely.
And the thing that, you know, I think that needs to be said is if you're a guide, you know, whether or not you yourself are compromised in some sort of way, whether you have a family and your wife, you know, any sort of consideration for this, there is nothing wrong with saying that you do not feel comfortable running a day. And I think that's something
Right.
that's really hard for some
It is.
to admit. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It is, again, as Molly said, it's your personal discretion, what you feel comfortable with. So,
And we, you know, we hope that, you know, I really this last week I've described myself as being spiky all of a sudden. Like I feel like this iron ball with all these spikes and deflecting everybody's nonsense and attitude. And so my hope, our hope, everyone's hope is that if you don't agree with someone's take on this, please be civil. You know, I mean,
Right.
this guy might not agree with this guy and vice versa, but you know what? That's their decision and their choice. And please respect it. If you don't like it, just back away and not say a word. Please.
Yeah. 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 Because we're experiencing that on, you know, kind of on the retail end of things where, you know, we've had this shift in when it first happened. You know, a lot of dealers are calling us up and saying, hey, you know, I know that order's done and it's ready, it's sitting on the dock, but hey, my shop's closed down, I can't take it, you know, hold it. And so like everybody was very understanding, and you know, and we were working with all of our different accounts, you know, and not really forcing anything on anybody. Just say, okay, that's fine, it's done, it's sitting here, it's got your name on it, it's not like we're going to unpack it.
Mhm.
But it's kind of like, seems like in about a 1 week period, all the patience and kindness went from, I need it now. And it was kind of like, well, we understand you want it now, but you can't just snap our fingers and you produce 200% more than you were producing a week ago. It doesn't
Right.
work that way. And
Mhm.
so, yeah, so we're kind of same thing, you know, trying to, you know, you find people throughout the day. Some people are very understanding and be like, hey, you know, I'm going to just do what you can, help me out here, I really want to get something together. But then like, especially people that are just recreationally boating themselves, it's kind of like, I am going on the river day after tomorrow and I need this now. And it's like, well, we understand there was this crisis going on, but you probably knew you were going to do this. So, you know, it's
Right.
but yeah, so it's just like kind of everybody's trying to kind of surf that wave, right? Because you definitely want to be able to take care of every customer you can, but at the same time, it's kind of like we all have a limit of how much we can get out the door, you know, and you're kind of doing that same thing we were talking about, you know, working with a smaller staff, trying to take care of everything you can with fewer people. And I think that we're going to see a lot of that just throughout the whole summer, because, you know, even if you have, you know, a good few weeks or a good month, you're gonna be like, oh, well, that's great. That's going to help this last month and that month coming up. But 1 month in this industry is not
No.
enough to change anything. That just kind of makes it look better.
We could pretty much say in confidence, this is going to be a pretty crummy summer for Montana fishing, regardless. When we open, people are just not going to want to travel.
And that's understandable. I mean, that's to no fault of their own,
Yeah.
So it's going to be, a famine summer for the industry, and all we can do is try to help each other, not just locally or regionally or throughout the state, but, if we have, our brethren in Idaho or Wyoming that need some help, we'll do that.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's like one of those things we've been constantly just trying to promote that it rings so much louder now is this shop local, support local. It's like, support that local shop, go to that local brew pub or whatever, because they need your business, and if you are going to have that choice, then, go out there and support those local folks, because I mean, that's really what this is all coming down to. I think this summer is going to be that, hopefully more people look at a staycation and it's like, what can I do in my immediate area? What is that guide outfit that I haven't ever done a trip with, but I know there's phenomenal fishing that's an hour away, and I've always wanted to do it, but I never had the time. And like, maybe this is that summer that, hey, maybe you should go look up that local guide that you see in the grocery store, and it's like, maybe you book a trip.
Absolutely.
A lot of people are offering discounts. For right now they are. I don't know what'll happen June 1st for locals. So do check your local shops and outfitters, because they're running. What's happening is a lot of these outfitters are just charging enough to pay the guide. They're not taking any money for themselves. The guides get 100% of whatever that, even at a reduced rate. So regardless of where you are, check with them, because they may have something that's really affordable that normally you wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah, I know that around here, I mean, there's definitely the shoulder season is where you do see a lot of offerings for locals, and now kind of almost like the whole season is kind of the shoulder season, because here in Ashland, the Shakespearean Festival is what brings 350 to 400,000 people to Southern Oregon. They are not operating until
a lot of Shakespeare lovers.
I think they're it's one of the biggest in the country, but it's all of the tourism kind of hovers around that, and so that element has been just removed out of this little town of Ashland, Oregon, and so now it's kind of like there's going to be definitely a lot of creative programs trying to just figure out how to get people to come visit, and not going into the Shakespeare stuff, because that was a big part of it. But I think the last I checked, they're possibly opening up, but it's not till like the end of September.
Yeah, it will be kind of a moot point here as the rivers start to get cresting and big. I saw the Bitterroot's blown out, Clark Fork's ready to go, and
everything.
So I mean, literally, spring creeks are going to be it here. Now, even though probably everyone's seen the news that the southern entrances to Yellowstone have opened, and the lines were an hour and a half to get in, and some ridiculous woman 2 days later already got run over by a bison because she's a fool. But the fishing in Yellowstone won't even open until the phase 3. So
right.
That's for
it'll be interesting to see. Once you do see this open up on June 1st, and it may if the fishing turns out to really start to turn on, people are going to at least have positive press and positive things to talk about, and carrots to dangle out there. Everybody has a limit, right? And so they may say at first, I think I'm going to pass, and then a couple buddies of theirs try it out and be like, oh yeah, Joe, I know we've gone 5 years in a row, but we just got back. It was the best year we've ever had. And so, there's that whole element to fishing communities, especially, right? It's all, you should have been here yesterday, but you know, still that feeds the fervor, right? And no way knowing that when you actually get there, it's going to be like that, but it does feed the fervor, and it does, you know, generate that buzz. And so, you know, that hasn't had that chance to really happen yet.
No.
But who knows? There may be a bit of that throughout your season. And
Oh, I bet
know.
we'll have some pickup days. You know, past June, I mean, personally, my schedule has minimally been impacted. So, you know, my June was looking full. And understandably so, though, a lot of my clients were traveling in from the East Coast, and that's just not feasible.
Right.
But with that said, you know, hopefully later in the summer, when we have a better feeling of things, maybe there's more testing provided, more people will feel safe to travel, more guides will feel safe to operate. I think that we will definitely see a lot of pickup traffic, you know, not foot traffic, I guess is what you could
Right.
Mhm.
call it. Yeah.
Yeah. 'Cause
Last
I mean,
minute calls
it
for
is,
trips.
Yeah.
exactly. I mean, it is continually evolving. I mean, one
Yes.
of the things that any of us that have been really diving in to running a business or running an outfit is like, you know, every week is different. You know, every week
Every day is different.
yeah, every day can be quite taxing. You know, one of the things I talked with another outfitter is just like, you know, it's just like the mental strain on operating business at this time is just, it's, you know, it's monumental. It's like all the little decisions you have to make every day. But then, you know, a week goes by, yeah, and it feels like a month. But it was like, you know, so much has changed, and it's like kind of like, okay, this is what we're going to do next week. And I know that this week is what we decided we were going to do, but that works. So we're going to try this next week. But yeah, you know, it is very fluid, and I think that, like you said, most outfitters are just, you know, kind of in their comfort zone. They're going to do what they feel comfortable with, and then, you know, you kind of play it by ear. You know, see how it goes. And
Well, the good thing about
yeah.
Montana is because they're independent contractors. Let's say we're not going to do trips in June, but our guides, if they're comfortable doing it, and they probably work for a couple other outfitters.
Oh
So
yeah, right. They can move
outfitter
around.
who will take trips, they could possibly get some work. So that's good
Right.
news. But it's
Right.
definitely going to be, you know, guides aren't going to be working every day like they have been.
Right. Yep. And hopefully, you know, like hopefully the career cut type guides are able to get through this and still stay doing what they want to do, because part of it on the whitewater end of things is if you completely shut your operation down, if you make that decision that it's just not worth it for your operation to open for this season, is like you really risk losing that whole culture and you losing all those people that were guiding, where you now force them to go rethink what they're doing. And, you know, and there's a good potentially chance that if you push them away from guiding, they don't come back to guiding, you know. And
I think we
shame.
will, yeah, and I think we will see that. I mean, you know, guides that are just trying to get their start, and, you know, part-time guides too, they may have other sources of income. Like we have a lot of teachers that guide in the summer just for extra fun money, right? And I think we will definitely see a little impact on that side of things with the, you know, first, second, third, maybe even fourth year guides will definitely feel the impacts, because it is kind of a trickle down system, where even, you know, guides that have been in it, 20 years are still behind the outfitter as far as a career guide goes. So it is a trickle down effect, and I think there will be an impact. But hopefully though, after the recession in 2008 and 9, there was a huge upswing and a really like revitalization of guiding and tourism here into Montana. So hopefully that will happen after this as well. So maybe that'll salvage some of those potential careers, hopefully.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, and I think it's definitely has moved at different speeds all around, you know, around the country, you know, because we sell to all these different regions, and, you know, there will be certain regions, all of a sudden it's just like, whoop, everybody in that region is coming on. So now they all want it. And in other areas are kind of like, no, not yet. You know, we're still, I'm still good with the middle of June. Push that back. So it's really it is just completely fluid, and it's going to be ever changing for the whole time. But yeah,
We'll make it through though.
that's right.
I don't know how, but we will.
Yeah.
Only by
Well,
living where we do.
the fishing gets really good. The fishing gets really
Right.
good. If you're not guiding, you'll be going out yourself and fishing.
I know. I even have time to go climb a peak or two this summer, which I haven't done in a very, very long time. So there's my silver lining of not working every day. So
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, excellent. Thank you very much for both of you coming on again and giving us a little bit of an update. And hopefully we've provided a little bit of information there and some guidance for folks that can try and figure out how they're going to navigate their summer and their guiding in Montana and other states around our region. And we'll just keep putting that information out there, and we really appreciate what you guys are doing. And,
thank you again for having us. We really appreciate your
absolutely.
time. Fantastic. And two, if guides need anything, get a hold of us. We're here.
Right.
Yeah.
If you got the good Wi-Fi, go to the website. Get all the resources. And if you just really don't have the patience, then remember that it is Memorial Day weekend coming up. So at least you should get outside and go take your mind off it, float a river, fish some area, and get out and enjoy doing what we all love to do.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, thanks everybody for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
That is going to do it for us today. And remember, as we've talked about a little bit, is still remain being kind, being patient, and shop local and support your local shops.
Yeah.
And we will see you guys out on the river. Bye now.